Hey, Michael here. On episode 2, I present Clay with a deep cut by those radio kings of the 90s, Hootie and the Blowfish. Let's put on our nostalgia headphones, tune the radio to 1996, and listen in to Clay's reaction. Welcome to I Got a Song.
Come on.
All right, everyone. Welcome back to the podcast. As yet unnamed podcast, as it turns out. As yet. Work in
Welcome
progress.
to the As Yet Named podcast with your friends Clay and Michael.
That's right. I am your hostess with not the mostest,
No,
Michael.
You're not a hostess.
Oh. I suppose you're correct. Anyway, enough of that. Welcome.
I'm so glad to be here.
We've decided on a
Thanks for having me on the show today, Michael.
Hey, man, thank you for joining me, my friend. For those of you who are just joining us, this podcast is, I don't know how groundbreaking it is, but what we're doing is we are two very good lifelong friends. We are two very good lifelong friends who both love and enjoy music, and each of us picks a song. And it's a surprise to the other one. And we research and listen to it ahead of time, kind of have some ideas and things to say about it ahead of time. And then, for example, in this episode, I will spring a song upon my friend Clay, and we'll both listen to it and then come back with some thoughts, some reactions, things like that. So,
Opinions,
many
facts?
opinions. Hopefully some facts, reflections. Any and all. All are available. All are welcome.
Have you got a song picked out for me today?
I do. And, episode 1 was we started with a banger. It was Clay's turn to pick a song. He picked just such a great one, Siva by the Smashing Pumpkins from their album Gish. And we had a great time, but I dread following that song with the song that I picked, but I'm going to stick with it and see what Clay thinks. And Clay, we talked about this, outside of the pod, but it's a band that well, a well-known '90s era band.
Okay.
But this is a song. This is a song from an album that did not hit as hard as it didn't land as well as their seminal hits, I guess, if that makes any sense. So
okay, all right.
It was a sophomore album effort that just didn't resonate with audiences quite as well. But I landed on this song a few years ago. Well, gosh, probably more like 7 or 8 years ago.
Okay. This isn't what I was thinking it was going to be now. Because I'm as you're describing it, I'm thinking, okay, maybe it's this. Maybe it's this. And now when you said 7 or 8 years ago, I was like, okay, no, it's not what I thought. Probably
no,
not.
I mean,
what I was
the song itself was not released 7 or 8 years ago. I just kind of started. I was introduced to this song by someone, and I was like, oh, I know this band really well, but I hadn't really given this album or this song in particular much of a listen. And it really kind of hit me for some reason. I don't know. It's a simple song. There's not a whole lot to it. There's not a lot of depth to it necessarily.
I hope the artist who made this doesn't hear that, because it's not a lot of depth to it, huh? Okay, all right.
Jeez.
Thanks a lot.
But
stupid little podcast.
God, I've sunk us before we're even out of the harbor.
Don't worry, no one's ever
But
listening to this.
I feel like it's a great song, and it's an underrated song from an underrated album by a very much rated band, I guess you could say.
So this show, we're normally not doing the hits.
No.
So this
is not a hit necessarily. It made like a very minor blip on
small splash,
90s,
lesser known
90s kind of rock radio, I guess you could say, for lack of a better choice.
Okay.
I'm really interested to see what you think. So, man, if you're
I'm
ready,
curious. What you could do is, and this is a little bit of how the sausage is made. We're working this out. These things take time. Okay. I'm saying what you could do is you could get my reaction to the song before we play it, So you could send it to me in the chat, and I can see it, and I can give a little reaction,
Oh, I
and
see
then
what
we
you're
could
saying.
launch into the song
It's
if you
like,
want.
okay, I'll do that. I'll do that. I'll share the song with you
Okay,
right
all right.
now while we're
So
talking and chatting.
yeah, so that way I can see what it is
Okay.
in
All
the
right.
text message.
All right. Here it comes.
And then once I see it and give I'll be real brief on a reaction, and then I'll hit finish. Yeah, then the next thing that the listeners will be hearing is the song. Fantastic! Let's go.
All right. Well, tell me what it is before we launch
We are
into it.
about
Tell
to
me what it
hear.
is.
We're about to hear Tucker's Town by Hootie and the Blowfish.
All right, man. I'm excited.
Okay, I kind of know the song.
Do you? Okay. I didn't
think I
know if
do.
you gave
I
it
think
much
I
of a.
do. I
Okay.
think I like it.
Well, I'm
I
excited to
can't
hear
wait to
your
do it. Well,
reaction.
here we
Let's
go. This is
let's
Tucker's Town.
Tucker's Town by Hootie and the Blowfish.
At this point in the show, Michael and I are going to listen to the entire song, and we recommend you do the same if you can for the best effect. Enjoy!
Okay, that was Tucker's Town by the band Hootie and the Blowfish off of their album Fairweather Johnson. And I've got a few facts about that later. But first, I want to get Clay's reaction.
Michael, you have a talent for this thing.
Do tell.
Ah, man, that was nice. That was just nice. It fits. It just fit like my entire setting right now. Like in my room, it's nice outside. It's beautiful weather. It's a feel good thing. It's a feel good day. And I knew the song.
Okay.
I was like, okay, Tuckerstown. Okay, yes, I know the song. And then it came on. I was like, yeah. And it's not one of those ones that I've heard a bunch.
Right.
But that's part of the magic, And it's just one of those little. It's not really a deep cut because, like you said, it probably got some radio airplay.
It did.
As a follow up to their monster hit or their monster album.
Yeah,
I think that was the follow up album, wasn't it?
It sure was. I've got a few facts about it, but I'm going to kind of circle back to that here in a few minutes. But yeah, I'm glad that it kind of landed with you. I was really kind of it was one of the first songs that I kind of came across in a playlist. I was like, I'm going to put that on a list. And I put a few other songs down, and I came back to it. I was like, man, I think that's the one I want to use for my first song out of the gate here with this podcast. And man, I'm glad it hit. That's awesome.
Yeah, that's a good one. I don't have the same kind of, feels and soft spot, for Hootie and the Blowfish that I do for, some artists. But whatever, it's still a good song. It's a good feel good song, and roll the windows down and turn it up a little bit. And
I feel like that's
nice.
The majority of Hootie and the Blowfish's vibe, I guess, is that they just want to have they look like they have a good time recording and performing, and I'd say the vast majority of their songs, the listeners have a good time hearing it, and they have a lot of like, let's say you're in the middle of a bar and this bar is playing loud music and there's 100 people packed into this thing, and everybody's having conversations, and then a Hootie and the Blowfish song comes on that was just gigantic in the 90s. The vast majority of the bar is going to start singing along to this thing. It's they have that kind of appeal where
they have those
simple
those kind
lyrics,
of those
yes.
sing along. They've got good sing alongs, right?
They're very sing alongable. If that's
that's exactly right. They've got the sing along ability.
Yes,
that some bands don't have. Another good example in same era, the Counting Crows, even though they're different, they had some of those like, Long December, just very sing-alongable.
Very like radio peers, for lack of a better way to put it. They were not the same. They're not, Counting Crows, I feel like goes quite a bit deeper, lyrically speaking, that sort of thing. they're a little they could be a little more on the emo side than Hootie and the Blowfish ever
they're a
really
different
attained to
vibe.
be.
They're
But
different, probably a different crowd too.
But you know, you wouldn't be out of place entirely to be listening to 90s radio on your little high-speed dubbing radio back in the mid 90s, and you'd hear, Mr. Jones by Counting Crows, and then the very next song you're going to hear Let Her Cry by Hootie and the Blowfish, and you're going to enjoy the hell out of both of them.
Yeah, they're kind of a CVS core, but I still like it.
That's such a good way to put it. That's such a good way to put it, and that's not a drag on them. That's not a drag on them.
You're looking for cotton swabs, and you're looking for some tampons, and you've got to find some.
And maybe you're waiting in line for your, for your medicine.
Yeah, you got to pick up your prescription.
And it's taking like half an hour, and the line's moving slow, and you're dreading it. And then, Hootie
all of
the
a sudden,
Blowfish
here
comes on,
Hootie
and you're like, you know what? This will carry me for the next 3 or 4 minutes. I'm good. Okay, so
and before you know it, it's your turn, and your prescription's been back ordered, and it's
exactly. So let me drop a few facts. I did a little research on Hootie and the Blowfish. Now you know this, going back pretty far. I'm not like a huge fan of Hootie and the Blowfish, but I do really enjoy their output over several albums worth. Obviously, their first album that really hit the mark was Correct Rear View. That album itself is practically a greatest hits on its own. I think literally half of the album were singles, and they even tried to play a few other songs off of the album that got some radio play. But the thing is, they just skyrocketed to stardom practically overnight based on that one album.
Yeah.
I did not research
when was the
exactly
last time
when
you listened to that one. Have you ever listened to it from start to finish?
I have. I actually have it on vinyl and listened to it probably once within the last year on my turntable.
Of course you did.
So yeah. Oh yeah. I've listened to it start to finish.
Yeah. You're no poser.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I've got it on vinyl, and it's actually a really good listen on vinyl too. I'm unashamed to say.
Sure
I want to say that album released in 93-ish, 93, maybe 94, somewhere in there, but I don't have that info right in front of me. However, Fairweather Johnson is the album that this song, Tuckerstown, came out on. It released in April of 1996. Tuckerstown was the second single off of that album. And the album itself debuted at number 1, obviously based off the strength of the previous album, Cracked Review. Cracked Review was actually still on the charts when Fairweather Johnson debuted at 1. I didn't see where on the charts, because it had obviously been out for a couple of years, I want to say, by that point. But and it sold over 2 million copies. I mean, it was a success as far as sales were concerned. Obviously, it paled in comparison to sales of Cracked Review. I think Cracked Review is one of the biggest selling albums of the 90s. And again, I don't have numbers for that, but
it's like up there, like in one of the most of all times.
Yes,
of all time. It's up there.
It's on that list. Yes, absolutely. Definitely one of the biggest albums of the 90s. I dare say even definitely top 10 and maybe even better than that. But Fairweather
There's all
Johnson,
kinds of lists by people who love to make lists and who love to rank things, which we do occasionally. We're guilty.
Occasionally, yeah. So I'll say this about Fairweather Johnson. It's more Hootie and the Blowfish. But the way I liken it is a more, I guess, mature Hootie and the Blowfish. They weren't trying to write as many hits with this one. I think they were trying to say more than the previous album. I don't know. It's hard to explain because it's the same formula, but the songs hit differently, and they did not resonate with audiences near as well or as much as the previous album. But to be fair, the previous album, Cracked Review, and all of those songs were so overplayed. I mean, just
that's true.
ridiculously overplayed, and I think partly because of that, there
Do
was
you
just
think
like
that
this
any of the
Hootie and the
songs
Blowfish.
from Do you think any of
But
the songs from Fairweather Johnson could have fit on Cracked Rearview?
I feel like this one could have. It probably wouldn't have been a
I felt
single,
like I
but I
could have.
think it could have set in the mix very well and been like a deep cut on like a really good deep cut on Cracked Rear View. Yeah, I feel like that. Yeah. There's some other tracks on there. One of the other singles. It's crap. I'm stumbling here. I don't have the album right in front of me. Okay, so the first single from it was "Old Man and Me," and I mean that's one of my lesser favorite songs on the album. But the album was released, and then that single was released, and it got a decent amount of radio play because
That
everyone.
name sounds familiar, but I've probably heard it.
I can almost assure you've probably heard it, but it came, it kind
Without
of
even
blew
hearing
up.
it, I can give you an idea of what I think it sounds like.
Okay. Well, yeah. That kind of
And
goes
there's an
back to the
acoustic
whole
guitar. It opens
same
with an acoustic
formula.
guitar.
Yes, same formula. Just I think there was fatigue involved with Hootie and the Blowfish because of its overplayedness.
Well, I'm sure they were probably. I'm sure they were under obligation to crank out another album, and then meanwhile they're touring probably, and I mean, music was a pretty busy time in 1994.
It really was.
And I bet
really
these guys were at the top. I mean, wow. I bet there's some pressure. I'm just speculating.
Yeah.
I haven't heard any interviews. I
I
don't know anything about.
I absolutely feel
Darius
like that's
Rucker.
a fair statement.
I did hear him on a podcast recently. He seemed like a really nice guy.
Yeah. I think he and the rest of the band seemed like all right dudes.
Good to hear.
Come on the pod, bud.
Michael, I'll let you slide into Darius Rucker's DMs and invite him to come on the pod.
I'll do that, and I'll let you know how it goes.
You have to task him with surprising us with a song, though. So if we have a guest,
that is
have
interesting.
to surprise us with a song.
Oh, I like that idea.
Or is that too much to ask?
I don't think it's too much to ask.
First we want to take up some of your time, and you have to do homework.
Yes.
That might be too big of an ask, but it sure would be fun if they play long.
I'll throw it out there, and all he's got to do is tell me no on both accounts, and then we're right back where we started. Tell me your trajectory with Hootie and the Blowfish.
Man, all I've got is the hits.
Yeah.
I know the hits. They're good. I like them. That's about it. I don't own Cracked Rearview. I know it's good, and but I've heard the song so many times, and most of the times I'll probably skip. But after this, I'll probably give them another. Give them another listen. I'm probably not going to spend like a whole day, but I'll probably give 3 or 4 songs in a row, and I'll be like, yeah, all right. Well, I've had my Hootie fix.
I was going to say it. You get your fix and you move on. That's I'm probably just a step beyond that with Hootie and the Blowfish, but not far from it. And
yeah, it's good. I don't object to it. It's and I don't go to it often. If I were to, I wonder how often I would skip the song if it were to come on. I'd probably skip it. 60% of the time, maybe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that's fair.
Just because, just due to I want to hear something else.
Right.
I've heard this a bunch.
Well, and they're definitely a mood band, and in so much as like.
But that mood is generally good. So
yeah. You're not going to listen. You're not going to listen to Hootie and the Blowfish and come out of it down, But you're not going to be in any kind of particular mood or anything like that. You're not just going to be average day and say, I want to hear Hootie and the Blowfish, and you're going to play them. No. If they come on, you're going to be like, man, this is hitting. I'm going to listen to it.
Mm-hmm.
And
then you'll go.
Then you kind of move on,
But that's just our. I bet you they've got a following. I bet you they got a massive following.
No doubt.
Yeah.
And
I'm
I
glad
think
they
I've
do.
talked to you about this before. I was so bummed out years and years ago. This would have been 2005 or six, somewhere around there. They were coming through to perform at the House of Blues in Houston, and I was living in Houston at the time. And I had tickets. I actually had tickets to go, and I was supposed to get off work earlier that day, like early afternoon. Things happened, and I was very, very late getting off work, and we didn't get to go to the show. And I was really bummed out, really bummed out. And I have not been to a single Hootie the Blowfish show. But for that moment in time, I was really excited to go and just couldn't get there. And man, I was bummed out because this is well past their prime, but they were still like this cohesive unit touring, and they weren't playing huge arenas or anything like that. They were I
that would have
think
been a
House of
good
Blues
opportunity
Houston
to
would have
see
been
him
like
in a decent.
2000 maybe.
Yeah, those aren't big. House of Blues aren't big, are they?
No.
The one in
No.
Dallas that we've been to a few times I don't think that's very big.
Yeah. It's a much more intimate setting, but then that's where you find all your like-minded fans, and these more intimate settings is where you tend to have more fun as a concert goer, in my opinion. But
as I've been to more shows and gotten a little bit older, I've noticed that one of the things that I enjoy, if I'm not especially into the band, is I like to look around and see the people who are into the band.
yes,
You can tell that they're having
yes.
an experience, and that gives me lift in just unexpected ways. Like the last show that you and I went to, Explosions in the Sky, you like them a lot more than I do. I wasn't feeling super great. My back was hurting, and so I was like kind of not really super engaged in the show, which is I still enjoyed it. And I mean, really, the thing I enjoyed the most was being with my friends and the Bono me. But one of the things I enjoyed was seeing the other people who were clearly had been following this band and loving them, and we're just so thrilled to be there experiencing the music.
Yes. Yeah.
That's thrilling. Next time you're at a show and you find yourself unengaged, look around at the other people who are engaged, and
I've
you will be
actually
like, wow,
caught
these
myself,
guys. Yeah.
and you have been to so many. I mean, you have been to like exponentially more shows than I have. But even way back to like the first real concert I ever went to, late '90s or maybe even 2000. You look around and they might look or act differently than you, but it's like we're all here to enjoy this artist up here, pouring their heart and soul into the performance or whatever.
Yeah.
Hopefully they are anyway.
Everybody in that venue has got something in common with one another.
Yes, there's this commonality in a crowd when you're at a concert, and that's what I was really looking forward to with that Hootie the Blowfish show, and I was robbed of it, and and I haven't.
I don't know if they're a thing anymore. Darius Rucker's gotten so huge on his own.
Since Darius Rucker kind of went down a bit of a country track himself, and that's he's been successful in that, and I wish him the best in that endeavor. However, that his country output has not really spoken to me at all.
I don't pay attention.
I do have to say, and I mean I'm more of a country fan than you are, I'd say. But having said that, my tolerance, I guess, of country music is still quite limited. And
well, I can tell you now, just it's been decided within the past 2 seconds that I'm gonna surprise you one day and drop some kind of country magic on you, and you're just not going to be ready for it.
I look forward to this day. I look forward to it.
Okay, Hootie and the Blowfish did put out an album in 2020 called Imperfect Circle.
Ah, yes.
Which was their first release in 15 years. Well, maybe. It just depends. Well, I'm looking at Spotify. I don't, maybe some of the albums aren't on there. They might have had some stuff in between. I shouldn't say that. But the most recent one that I can see at the moment was called Imperfect Circle.
Okay. I will say this. They put out an album later. It was before this one. So the one you said was in 2020. The 15 years prior, there was an album called Looking for Lucky. I had, and I may still have
That's
it.
from 2005.
Yes, I bought that on CD. I bought that album on CD.
That's got a
it's
good
okay.
song on it. That was kind of like a comeback song. They what was it?
It's called the one that I'm thinking. One Love. Yes. And I actually considered using that song, but I kind of wanted to go back to the 90s because you and I really gravitate to the 90s with where we merge on our musical tastes.
Yeah.
One Love is a great song, and the album's okay. I actually like Fairweather Johnson better than this one. One Love is really kind of a standout track in a otherwise sea of kind of mediocrity, in my opinion. Sorry, guys.
That's all
right. I'm not going to pull any punches, I guess, but
no, why should we? This is our show.
Exactly. So anyway, having said that, Fairweather Johnson, good album with a few great tracks, and my favorite track of that being Tucker's Town, and it's a very listenable song, and a sing-alongable song.
Yeah, like I was sitting in my chair here in my room where I record and do all this stuff, and my rock room, as we call it, and I was just sitting in my chair and just kind of swaying back and forth, close my eyes a little bit. That's a pretty good song. Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good choice, sir.
Fine. I appreciate that.
On that song.
All right.
You're good at this. You ought to have your own show someday.
Well, that's the hope. That's the dream.
Find a
is it
decent
not?
Co-host, and you might be all right.
Oof. Well, I got to be a decent host myself before we get there. All right, so let's wrap this up. This was Tucker's Town by Hootie the Blowfish off of their album Fairweather Johnson. And Clay, I'm really glad you took the time to listen to it and give me your thoughts on it. And I'm really glad and rather relieved that it wasn't a dud.
Well, you told me I had to. You said I was
so.
Contractually obligated, and I don't want to.
Well, we're not going to. We're not going to talk about the contract.
Oh, not right now. Okay.
No, NDA.
Well, let's do this again.
Good show. Yes, let's. Great show, and we will convene at a later time.
A little bit.
Going to pat our own backs, and if I had an applause track, I would play it right now. So just you can't hear it, but you can imagine it.
Thanks, everybody.
All right, see ya.
Hey, we really appreciate you listening to the show today. If you enjoyed it, feel free to listen to the rest of our catalog and share it with your friends. Go ahead and follow us. And you can find me on Instagram at Clay Dang Collins. Thanks a lot. We'll see you on the next one.